President Trump is ordering drug suspects to be killed without charges or trials, and he thinks it's a joke.
Now there are no boats. I wonder why. Meaning no drugs are coming across, probably stopping some fishermen too. I mean, to be honest, if I were a fisherman, I wouldn't want to go fishing. Just a nice, let's take a little trip, because I'd say, man, maybe they think I have drugs downstairs. I don't want that. I think the fishing business has probably been hurt.
He's not merely ordering the military to stop drug vessels. He is deliberately and intentionally ordering that everyone in the vessel be killed. Secretary of State Marco Rubio even admits that we could stop these drug vessels without killing the people, but they're choosing to do it this way.
A drug boat was headed towards eventually the United States, and instead of interdicting it on the president's orders, he blew it up. And it'll happen again.
And it's actually worse than just dropping one bomb, because this boat was hit several times until there was no movement on board. This was an extrajudicial execution. In free societies, the government must prove someone's guilt in a court before imposing punishment. And that punishment must be according to law, not whatever the president decides. This first part is obvious. Here's Republican Senator Rand Paul.
We assume these people were bad people and drug dealers, but if they were caught off the coast of Miami, we would stop the boat. If they don't shoot at us, we don't shoot at them. They're confiscated, they're put in jail, and then they go through a trial to prove what they were doing. And if they have 20 pounds of cocaine or heroin or something on the boat, they'll be convicted. The reason we have trials, though, and we don't automatically assume guilt is, what if we make a mistake and they happen to be people fleeing Venezuela, the Venezuelan dictator?
It is so obvious that this policy could result in the deaths of innocent people that the president and the vice president are laughing about how terrified these starving Venezuelan fishermen are right now.
Hell, I wouldn't go fishing right now in that area of the world.
Just days before they bombed a second boat, the Navy wrongly detained a group of Venezuelan fishermen for 8 hours because they wrongly thought they were trafficking drugs. Now they're not checking. They're just killing. And this is just one example of the government's inaccurate targeting of Venezuelans. We already know this administration will accept the flimsiest evidence to label a Venezuelan gang member. Just look at what happened to Andre Romero Hernandez.
The crowns themselves were on top of the names of his parents. The most plausible explanation for that are that his mom and dad are his king and queen.
He was labeled a Venezuelan gang member because of his mom and dad tattoos. And who was responsible for this determination? A disgraced former Milwaukee police officer who was so unreliable that prosecutors refused to use his testimony in court. This is why we have due process in the United States. Andre was sent to a Salvadoran prison where he was tortured as a result of this determination. And he was not alone. He was one of hundreds of Venezuelans wrongly accused of being gang members and sent to a Salvadoran prison without charges or trials. Of course, the administration is lying about these boat bombings as well. President Trump initially said the boat was heading to the United States, but Marco Rubio has since admitted that it was not heading to the United States. It was headed to Trinidad, just 7 miles away from Venezuela.
These particular drugs were probably headed to Trinidad or some other country in the Caribbean?
In fact, we now know that the boat had actually turned back to Venezuela before it was struck. And of course, it was struck multiple times in order to assure that everyone on board was killed. It is not a capital crime to have drugs on your boat. Even after a conviction in a court beyond a reasonable doubt, you still cannot be killed for drug trafficking. The president has no power to change the penalty for drug trafficking from serving a term in prison to being burned alive. And just for the record, the military is only authorized to intercept vessels to communicate with them so that they can be referred to civilian law enforcement. It is not authorized to bomb them. This is the path to authoritarianism. The president is not merely killing people unjustly. He's assuming the powers of lawmaker, cop, judge, jury, and executioner all wrapped up into one. That is not our constitutional order. Vice President Vance says this is the highest use of our military. No, the highest use of our military is in their now violated oath.
Support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic.